Alright, we got category 3 review. Writing and solving linear functions, equations, and inequalities. We start with number 1. We have a function y equals negative 4x plus 6. What's the effect of decreasing the y-intercept by 8? Well, here's our y-intercept, plus 6. If we decrease that by 8, we're subtracting 8 from it. 6 minus 8 is going to give us negative 2. So our new equation is negative 4x minus 2. If you graph the original function and the new function on the same graph on your calculator, the slopes are the same, negative 4x. The only difference is the y-intercept. One line is going to start at plus 6 and go down. The other line is going to start at negative 2 and go down. So we know parallel means same slope. These two lines have the same slope. Our choice is going to be, or our answer is going to be A there. If you look through at the rest of the answer choices, the rate of change is not changing. The x-intercept went from here, it decreased down to there, doesn't increase. The y-intercept went from 6 down to negative 2, it decreases, doesn't increase. So A is the only possible option we have there. Number 2, y varies directly with x. Y is 33 when x is 11. What is the constant of variation? Constant of variation is k. It's another word for slope. We know a direct variation is y equals kx. We should know that. It's on one of our note cards. If I don't know how to find k, I can always take this k here and solve for k. Get the k by itself. I got to get rid of this x. It's being multiplied. Divide both sides by x. So now y over x is equal to k. This should be something we've had memorized, but if not, you can always find it solving equations. So k is y over x. They're asking us for k. All we have to do is take y over x. 33 over 11 is 3. Number 3, inequality. Which inequality best describes the range of the function shown in the graph? I know range is top to bottom, or bottom to top. Down at the bottom, I don't have a boundary because it keeps going forever and ever. But up top, I do have a boundary of 6. So 6 is my only boundary. That kind of gives away the answer, because none of these use 6. But just to go on and answer the question without using the answer choices, all the y values are less than 6. They start up here at the top and go down. Every y value below there is going to be used by some coordinate on this line. So all the y values less than or equal to 6. I know it's equal to because there's a solid dot up here. If it was an empty dot, I wouldn't have this equal to. But I do, and it's going to be B. Number 4. The figure below shows a sequence of squares arranged in a pattern. If this pattern were to continue, which expression could be used to determine the number of squares at stage n? When they give you a pattern like this, they're giving you a table. This is a table. It doesn't look like one. Figure 1 has 5 squares. Figure 2 has 8 squares. Figure 3 has 11 squares. Figure 4 has 14 squares. That's like my table, x and y. All I need to do now is figure out which equation gives us that table. So we can do that a couple different ways. I can go make a scatter plot on my calculator of all these x and y values, and then you list in spreadsheets, data and statistics, all that stuff on the calculator. I could check all of the answer choices. I could go type in 3n plus 2 or 3x plus 2 in my graph, Control T, and look at a table. The other way would be just to plug in the x and see what y values I get. For example, B says that 5 times n gives you the number of squares. Well, 5 times 1 does give me 5, So 5 times 2 does not give me 8, so I know that's not right. The other way is to figure out the equation algebraically, like we've learned. I know the slope is increasing by 3 squares every time. So 3n. Now where do I start? Do I start at 5 or do I start where? Well, for the y-intercept, you got to remember it's the 0th term. The y-intercept is where x equals 0. So we got to back up 1 and back up 1 here. If I back up, I'm going by a pattern of 3, so if I back up 1, it would end up being plus 2. So I know A is going to be my answer. A couple ways to check my answer. Look at where x, or where n, is 4. 3 times 4 plus 2 gives me what? That's 12 plus 2 is 14, and it should be 14. So that one's good. I don't think anything else will give me 14, any of these other equations. Another way I could check it is on my calculator. 3n plus 2 is, I can graph it, 3x plus 2. So I don't care about the graph, I care about the table. So Control T, and here's my table. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 11, 14. It looks to be a perfect match for the table that they gave me in the problem. So, a bunch of different ways you can do that problem. If you're good at the calculator might be the best way. If you're not, you've got a bunch of different options. Number 5, another domain and range problem. Domain we know is left to right. So, left boundary is -1. Right boundary is 4. Well, I know it has to go from -1 to 4. Can't be A, can't be B. The only difference between C and D is the equal to. This is less than or equal to 4. This is just less than 4. I need to look at my boundary at 4 to see which one it is. Over here, I have an empty dot, or an open dot. That means the graph does not actually equal 4. It goes right up to 4 and stops just a little bit below it, so it cannot equal 4. Got to be C. If it were a solid dot over here, then it would be D. But it's not. Okay. Number 6. Selena's phone bill can be calculated from the equation T equals 0.25, 25 cents, times M minus 250. So the number of minutes minus 250. Where M is the number of minutes she talks. Which is the best interpretation of this information? Well, I know I'm multiplying 25 cents times something. That's telling me it's going to be 25 cents per minute. But it's not just 0.25 M. That would be 25 cents per minute. I'm multiplying 0.25 times the number of minutes minus 250. So let's say, for example, that she talked for 300 minutes. That's going to be my equation. Well, I'm not multiplying a quarter times 300. I'm multiplying a quarter times, if I subtract that, I get 50. So she's only paying for 50 minutes, 25 cents per minute for 50 minutes. What this minus 250 is really telling me is the first 250 minutes are free. If you talk up to 250 minutes, you subtract them all and you don't pay anything. It's only after 250 is when you start paying. So if I look at my answer choices, $250 per month, that's nowhere on here because we're subtracting 250, so it's not that. $2.50 per minute doesn't make any sense. C, Selena pays 25 cents for every minute over 250 minutes. That one's looking like the right answer. Or D, just 25 cents per minute. No, because it's got the minus 250 part, so C is the only option that makes any sense. That is kind of hard to see. Just looking at this equation, it's hard to tell what that really means. Make up some numbers and plug them in, though. When I plugged in 300, it kind of all became clear that you're subtracting away those free 250 minutes. You're only paying for the 50 that you went over. So, plug in some numbers. Number 7. Which equation would be perpendicular to the line created by 3x plus y equals 7? Perpendicular. One of our note cards. We know that has to be opposite reciprocal slopes. Opposite reciprocal opposite reciprocal slopes. I need to know the slope of this equation. The only way of finding the slope is to make sure it's in slope-intercept form. The slope is not 3. Don't try to say the slope is 3. If I minus 3x to both sides, I'm going to get the y by itself. So that gives me y equals negative 3x plus 7. My slope is negative 3. The opposite is going to be positive 3. The reciprocal is going to be 1/3. That's the slope I'm looking for. That's going to give me opposite reciprocal slopes, which would be perpendicular. So, look over here, find the slope of 1/3. It's going to be C. Plan B, if you couldn't remember any of that, what you could do is go graph this equation in your calculator. 3x plus y equals 7. So, graph 3x plus, no, can't do that. Erase the equal sign, go to relation. 3x plus 6y, 3x plus y equals 7. There's our line. Now all I got to do is figure out which line is perpendicular to that. So, look at your options, look at your answer choices, graph them all until you find one perpendicular. If I'm looking at C, 1/3 x plus 2, I can go back to my calculator, type in y equals 1/3 x plus 2, get your equation, and we can see that those are perpendicular. They form a perfect right angle. That's the only line that would do that. All the other ones would be not perpendicular. They would intersect, but not in a 90-degree angle. So 2 ways to do it. One with the calculator, one without. Number 8. System of equations. Another calculator question. We know that menu 3.2 from a calculator page gives us the answer, or the solution. I go menu, algebra, solve a system of linear equations. This gives me the solution. Type an equation here and an equation there, hit enter. But I'm not looking for the solution here. I'm looking for the graph. So I'm going to go to the graph and just graph those two equations. Those will give me the actual graph so I can see what it looks like. So I'm going to pause here and type them in, speed the process up a little bit. Alright, I went to my graph. I erased the equal sign so that I could graph a relation. Remember, a relation is any equation with x and y in it. Typed in both equations. The second one was y minus 1 equals x. When I graph it, this is the graph I get. I can see my solution here because it's where they intersect at -2, -1. I just need to find the graph that looks just like this picture here. So, go back and look at my answer choices. And J looks to be a perfect match, and it has that same solution, -2, -1. So that's got to be our answer. Number 9, which equation describes a line that passes through -4, -3? I'm going to go plot. -4, -3, and is parallel to the x-axis. This is my x-axis. I know that line has to be right here. I just need the equation that makes that line. Well, I know it's at -3. It's not going to be a +3 or a +4. So my only choices are y equals -3 and x equals -4. I know the slope of a horizontal line is 0. So it's going to be y equals mx plus b form with y equals 0x minus 3 is my y-intercept. 0x goes away. So There's my equation. I already know the answer is going to be F. If I'm not sure, though, that's kind of hard to remember, those equations. We get y equals and x equals mixed up. Go to your calculator. If you're thinking it might be J, x equals -4, go graph it. It's a relation. It's got an x equals in it. You can just type in x equals -4 and get the graph there. Y equals -3. If I go check that, I can see that this is y equals there, -3. It's the horizontal line down 3 units. So that's got to be our answer there. F. Number 10, which ordered pair is a solution of the system 4y equals x plus 8 and 3x minus 2y equals 6? It's a calculator question. Menu 3-2 would find our solution here very easily. So go back to our calculator. Calculator page. Menu, algebra, solve a system of linear equations. We have two equations with x and y as my variables. We're going to type the equations in here. All right, I got my two equations typed in here. One at the top, one at the bottom. I hit enter, and there's my solution. 4, 3. X is 4, y is 3. Now I just go find the one that matches that. X is 4, y is 3. It's got to be J. Remember, when you do menu 3-2, you can graph equation or type in equations in any form. It could be standard form. It could be, this bottom one is standard form. This top one is not really any form. It's not y equals, but it's not standard form. It doesn't matter the form. Any equation can go in there. Number 11, the range of the functions shown on the graph. I'm already going to eliminate B. I know that can't be right because, now I'm going to eliminate B. Range I know is bottom to top, and it's the y values. It's not x values, so B is out. Bottom to top, I got to think, how low is the lowest boundary? The lowest boundary is this low, which is 1. The highest boundary is this high, which is 5. So I know my range goes from 1 to 5. It's not A, either C or D. The difference is 1 is equal to, 1 is not equal to. The only thing that I can look at to figure that out are the boundaries, the dots. Are they open or are they closed? These are solid closed-in dots, which mean it equals 5 and it equals 1. So D is my answer. All y values start at 1, end at 5, and they include 1 and 5. Last one, number 12. Line on the graph has an x-intercept at -3, 0. So an x-intercept is on my x-axis of -3, 0. And has an undefined slope. Undefined is up and down. It's an undefined line. So, there's my line right there. I know it's up and down. It's vertical at -3. A vertical line, one of our note cards, is always in the form of x equals something. Not going to be y equals, not going to be that. X equals 0 or x equals -3. I'm not sure. I think it's D. I'm going to go check it in my calculator, though, just to make sure. X equals -3. I'm going to graph it. Come back here. Add a new page, a graph. Delete my equal sign. Go to a relation. X equals -3. And that is exactly what I was hoping to see. Vertical line to the left 3 units. It is answer choice D. So, that's that. Good luck.